Social climbing in the Philippines. How do you cope as a rich man in the Philippines? Yes, like it or not, that's what you are here. That's how the locals will see you, regardless of what you say or feel. They will always see you that way, and you will encounter the ugly side of social climbing. So deal with it. As part of an Australian-Filipino relationship, you simply must deal with it if you intend spending any time here or relating to anyone here. Like most Australians, I've always detested the word rich. So please no one get offended and think I'm looking down on anybody here. Not at all. It's not kosher at all for Aussies to use it. Just like that awful other word, class. Australia was originally founded on convicts and other rejects from Mother England, as we know, and we've always relished in our aversion to the class system. And we've always taken great delight in equalising all of those around us. If someone is up himself, or mayabang is the Tagalog word, just check the last video for that. We love bringing them down to our level. And if someone is humbling themselves before us, we drag them up to our level. We can't stand either extreme. Social climbing and social positioning in the Philippines. Here in the Philippines, things are a little different to how they are in Australia. Everyone knows their place in the social ladder in comparison to others, and they all know how to relate to others on the different levels. Example here, I met a Filipino lady years ago in an expat gathering in Manila. She had an English boyfriend, said she was interested in a visa to Australia. I gave her a card, didn't think about it. Well, she telephones our office and wants to talk to somebody. Mila did the honours. Well, thinking that Mila was a lowly secretary, she talked to her like she was something scraped off the bottom of her shoe. Didn't go over too well, as anyone who knows Mila would know. But she did that because she assumed a more important role because she was involved with a rich white man, and again thought Mila was a lowly secretary, so she acquired that stance. The funny thing was, when she met Mila with me this time, this was a few months ago, and this was with me, who she knew, the tone was very different. She had no idea that was the person she was talking to before, of course. Now she was instantly humbled because she was on a lower social rung, being just the girlfriend rather than the wife of a foreigner. And that's how it works here. And you'll notice that doctors, lawyers, engineers, school teachers, basically anybody professional or even remotely professional, they tend to take on an air of superiority, and people basically suck up to them and call them sir or mum or even ate, even if they're younger than that person they're talking to. We've had people visiting our home, and I've heard them on the phone saying, "I'm at Madame's house." Ha! Mila, despite her illustrious position as the wife of a rich white fella, well, she still dresses and acts the same as she ever did. She takes great delight in telling people people will come by the house and see her and ask, "Oh, who lives here?" And she'll say, I don't know, I'm just the household helper. She finds it amusing to do, and she really doesn't care, because due to her time in Australia, she really can't handle the madame stuff. It's just not her anymore. Now, the problems with being rich and with social climbers who you will come across. Now, I've covered issues with staff in a previous article. Please watch the video. Please look up the article if you haven't read it, and please have a read now, because there are very important points there which will help you to understand all of this. Now, other issues I covered being minority and artificial social climbing in a previous article. You need to be aware of this, because it's an area that can cause you problems when you become close to those who are, well, how shall I put this politely, those who are prone to the temptations to climb the social ladder by latching onto somebody who's already up the ladder. One of the problems here is that ordinary people watch TV a lot, and the TV tends to portray rich people as living the most magical of lives. They all have perfect hair, perfect teeth, glowing white skin, and not a pimple in sight, and these perfectly operated on noses that are definitely not flat. Dad in the family drives a BMW. He comes back from work still, with his collar and tie, looking very neat. And everyone but the servants spend their lives enjoying themselves. No one actually works or gets their manicured hands dirty. Now the problem is, if you show too much kindness or attention to people who have this tendency, which is a lot of the, I suppose you'd say less sophisticated people here, without being aloof, which is what the professionals and the rich people tend to do here. People assume they can jump onto your bandwagon, and they can become, they can share the wealth and join in and become a wealthy person. Now, but example here. Now, I have a sister-in-law. She's more like a daughter to me these days. But we employed her as a household helper back in 2010, so she's still here. She's married to my brother-in-law, and she still works here. Regardless of how close we are to her, she's one of those rare Filipinos who makes no assumptions. She's happy to work, and she knows she isn't entitled to our wealth by osmosis. Well, when she visits her relatives in the province, they'll try to borrow money from her because they assume, well, firstly, she does absolutely no work, and B, we just shower her with money just because. Now that annoys her beyond belief, but that's their assumption, and there's nothing she can do to convince them otherwise. Another example. Now, we had a niece of sorts, distant relative, who came to stay with us for about a year as a working student, basically. Poor family, dad grows bananas, etc. The family vehicle is a carabao called Manuel. So we thought we'd help her out. We'd put her into university, let her gain 8 kilos in weight, expected a few hours a day of housework to be done. I mean, it sounds fair. Well, we thought it was perfectly fair. But unlike the sister-in-law, this one became totally mayabang. Now, because she was family, because she was a relative, she therefore thought she was entitled to share in the pickings from the family money tree. So, she became the rich girl too. Now, she resented having jobs to do because, she was now rich. She talked down to the other household staff. She smiled sweetly at me, but not to anybody else. And somehow we turned a simple girl from an unnamed mountain in Edinburgh into Chris Aquino. To those who don't know, that's the former President Aquino's sister. Basically a professional, famous person with a very high opinion of herself, who has magazines devoted to herself and boring shows on TV, basically, where she can talk about herself. Well, this girl, she's now back in the provinces. She's washing clothes in the irrigation channels and walking 2 hours back up the mountain to get to her home these days. Well, I had tried to explain about the pointless pursuit of social status, but the belief in becoming rich was far too ingrained. I wasted my breath. She had it in her mind that this was how things were and how she should behave, and I'm sure she's worked it out now, but it's a little too late. The solution? I'm not really sure there is one. It's not the first time we had somebody stay with us only to think they were suddenly better than everyone else. I guess that every time it happens, I naturally become a little bit more aware and a bit more cautious. Now, we have some old school friends of my daughter Remy staying with us since last Sunday, basically. Now, we're training them to work in the office, and so far they're showing some promise, so, fingers crossed. Yes, I'll take great satisfaction in seeing a few more kilos on them. It's just the dad in me, I can't help myself. And I'm pleased that they've got a chance at something good. But I'll be keeping some distance to ensure that nothing gets wrecked by getting their heads full of unrealistic aspirations. basically we've had enough Chris Aquinos to last a lifetime. Thank you. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it and you would like to subscribe, you can click on the little button down the bottom corner there, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. There are regular articles on aspects of Australian visas to the Philippines on www.downundervisa.com.au. There's a blog page you can subscribe to. There is a free visa assessment form, and there are regular articles on aspects of Australian-Filipino relationships, which you can see on www.filipinowives.com.au. If you can please share these articles and these videos on any of the social media that you use, we would appreciate that. Thank you.